Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Vrijraj, and I'm a Google developer expert for web technology and Firebase. Also, I'm a content creator for TechFerment. And today I'm going to talk about JavaScript and the Node.js part. Like in the previous day, we have talked about the backend technologies, like what are the backend developer will do for their work, and how we can start a career in the backend development. And we have talked about the roadmap also. So now today I'm going to talk about JavaScript and especially with Node.js. We will create a server and we will like serve simple HTML file through that particular server in Node.js. So let's get started. So if I talk about so we can skip this one part. Yeah. So what is a JavaScript? So JavaScript is one of the top most popular programming language in the world. Like if I talk about if you can go any survey, so JavaScript is the top most popular programming language where we as a developer can create any applications. Let's say if you want to create a mobile applications, you can use JavaScript for creating a mobile applications. Even you can create IoT based applications, web applications. You can use JavaScript and number of places and number of platforms. It's totally up to you, and it is a fast growing language in like as compared to the other language. And the big companies like Netflix, Walmart, Google, Facebook, there are a lot of companies who are using JavaScript for writing their business logic as well as the front end applications. And with JavaScript you can make interactive web page. And if I talk about like the career scope, like this is a great opportunities to learn JavaScript, because in the market we have a lot of job opportunities. You will get a lot of opportunities for JavaScript developer. Okay, so now I'll talk about like what you can do with JavaScript. So as I mentioned, like with the help of JavaScript, you can create an interactive web page. Like with the help of HTML, you can create a layout. You can create a structure of your web page. And if you want to design your web page, then you can go with CSS part. And if you want to make some interactions, like if you want to add some button in HTML, you can add a button with HTML tags, and then you can perform some actions with the help of JavaScript, or you can make more interactive web page with the help of JavaScript. Like when user will click on that particular button, you can hide, or maybe you can show some div element, or maybe some content, or images, audio file, text file. It's totally up to you. So you can make interactive web page with the help of JavaScript. And there are a lot of applications like while you are working on a JavaScript. So with the help of JavaScript, you can also create a web applications as well as you can create a mobile applications. So like there are a lot of frameworks which is written in JavaScript. With the help of those framework, you can create mobile applications, desktop applications, any other platform that particular applications. It's totally up to you. For example, there is a one framework name is Electron.js. So with the help of Electron.js, you can create a desktop applications which will run on your Windows machine. So similarly, there is another framework, Ionic. So we use Ionic for creating a mobile application, which is basically we will write those code in the JavaScript part, and that will create an app file, and that we can run on Android applications. So similarly, Amazon is doing that things like Amazon. If you just install Amazon website, not Amazon application in your Android application, basically that application which is built on Ionic, this is a web view, and then you can do it. And the next part is with the help of JavaScript, you can create real-time networking applications. Let's say if you wanted to create WhatsApp or maybe Instagram messaging or real-time communication type of web applications or any applications, so you can use JavaScript for real-time syncing. And the third one part is like you can use JavaScript for creating a command line tools. Like if you have a experience with maybe the cloud services, let's say Google Cloud Platform, AWS or Azure or any of the cloud services. So there is some section for CLI, like command line tools. So on that particular platform or on that particular website, you can access the command line tools. So we can create those type of command line tools with the help of JavaScript. Same with in your local machine. So you can create a command line tools with the help of JavaScript. And the fourth one part is with the help of JavaScript, you can create interactive games. Like earlier, we can play the games only on our local machine. But right now, the technology has grown, and with the help of JavaScript, we can replay that particular games on the online system. Like we just need to open the browser and then open that particular website, and within a website we can uh, run the games. Let's say Google Stadia or any other framework technologies. So the name of JavaScript framework you have mentioned. Okay, so with the help of Electron.js, you can create desktop applications. And similarly, there is another framework, React Native, or you can use Ionic. With the help of Ionic, React Native, and the PWA as a technology, you can convert your JavaScript code into the mobile application part. Okay, the next one part is, so now, like as I mentioned, like with the help of JavaScript, we can create a web application as well as desktop application, mobile applications, networking type of applications, as well as command line tools, or also we can create a games based on it. So now next part is like where does JavaScript code run? Let's say if you are working on C++, so you can write your code in maybe dev C++ or maybe any other IDE, and then you can run that particular code on that particular IDE. So we need an IDE. Similarly, if you have a JavaScript code, you need to run that particular JavaScript code. So we need a something where we can run our JavaScript code. So if I talk about, like, let's say we can create a JavaScript code, like in HTML, there is a section script tag. Inside script tag, we can write the JavaScript code, like just a beginner point of view. And then let's say we have a browser and we have created a HTML page, let's say index.html file having some HTML tags, paragraph tag, and then we have a script tag, and inside script tag we have some JavaScript logic. So when we run that particular JavaScript file on the browser end, so here in the browser we have a engine. So which engine is called as JavaScript engine, where your JavaScript code is going to be compiled or maybe going to be run or execute. So engine is responsible for running your JavaScript code. And if I talk about in the market, we have a lot of browsers. So if you can go with Google Chrome, we have a Chrome V8 engine, which is written in C++ and which is open source. And with the help of Chrome V8, you can run your JavaScript code within a browser. And similarly, if I talk about Firefox, so we have another JavaScript engine in the browser. You can use SpiderMonkey for running your JavaScript code. Or similarly, if you are using Microsoft Edge, we have a Edge Chakra where you can run your JavaScript code. Okay. So like initially we have a restrictions, like we cannot run the JavaScript file outside the browser because we need a JavaScript engine, and with JavaScript engine is within a browser. So like we cannot run that JavaScript file without the browser. We just need to embed it, or maybe we need to write that particular code inside internal, or maybe inside HTML code, and then we can run that particular file. So this is the restriction, and on that particular time, this JavaScript language is become only on the client side language, because there is a restriction without browser. Like we cannot run the JavaScript code, or directly we cannot run, or directly we cannot start that JavaScript file on your local machine or maybe operating system. So after some time, there is a developer name is Ryan Dahl. He took a JavaScript engine. The JavaScript engine name is the Chrome V8 engine outside the browser, and then he has created the environment for running that particular JavaScript engine. So my JavaScript engine is Chrome V8 engine, and then I have created an environment for that particular JavaScript engine where we can run the JavaScript engine with smoothly. So this entire program is called as Node. So with the help of Node.js, you can run your JavaScript code without browser. Earlier, like we have a restriction, we cannot run the JavaScript file without the browser. So that language has become a client-side language. But after coming to the Node.js part, with the help of Node.js, you can run your JavaScript code without browser directly in your operating system. Operating system means your computer. Computer means can be considered as a server. So after Node.js, this language become a server-sided language where we can use JavaScript for writing our business logic or making REST APIs and many more things. So Node.js is basically a runtime environment where with the help of Node.js, you can run your JavaScript code without the browser. Means directly you can interact with your operating system. Means with the help of JavaScript, you can create a logic where you can read the file in your operating system, you can delete the file, you can update the file, you can edit the file, or whatever you want to do with the help of JavaScript in Node.js. So it's totally up to you. So this is a overall terminologies. Like initially, like if I talk about JavaScript, so we have a JavaScript engine which is in the browser end, and after like we have a restrictions like we cannot run the JavaScript file outside the browser initial time, and that language was called as client side language. But after Node.js, we can run the JavaScript code without the browser itself. So that's why JavaScript is also called as server side language. Okay, so now, the next topic is like I'll show you the code part, like how we can run the JavaScript code and how we can uh, like implement all the things. So I'll share my entire screen and will show you step by step. Okay, I hope my screen is visible. Okay, awesome. So what I do here, I have created a folder. My folder name is, let's say, Node 101, and I'm using VS Code editor. This is a terminal like IDE where we can write our HTML, CSS, JavaScript code, and then we can run that particular code with the help of browser. So I have opened this folder with the help of my VS Code editor. This is a VS Code editor, and here what we as a front end developer can do, like we can create a HTML file. Let's say I'm creating an HTML file name is index.html. So here we have a syntax. Let's say I wanted to write the HTML file logic. So here we have written the HTML logic, and here let's say I'll write a heading. So this is a heading. Here we can write node 101. Okay, and if I wanted to use the JavaScript code, we can use a script tag. Here we have a script tag, and then we can use SRC as an attribute where we can link the JavaScript file. So I'll create a JavaScript file. Let's say my file name is app.js, and here I will write console.log. Let's say hello. So I will save. I can link that particular file app.js, and I will save. Okay, so this is a basic concept. Like we can create index.html HTML page with the help of HTML tags, and then we can import that particular JavaScript file with the help of script tag, and then we need to use SRC as an attribute, and then we have created app.js file, and here we have written a simple logic for printing hello. Okay, so what I'll do here, I will close the thing. Now I'll go to the folder. Here we have a folder. Here we have a two file. Okay. So first file is index.html and the second file is app.js. So if I'll run app.js directly in my computer, so we cannot run the JavaScript file without the browser. So that's why this file is saying you cannot run this file. So you need a browser. So what I do, like I have created an index.html page, and then I have added this JavaScript file inside this HTML text, and then we can run this HTML file, and then we can run the JavaScript code. So now I wanted to check the JavaScript logic which is written in console.log. So what I'll do here, I will go to the inspect element. So here we have an inspect section, and then you can go to the console part, and then we have output hello. Okay. So this is how we can run the JavaScript code as a front-end developer. Just because of we cannot run the JavaScript code without the browser. So we need a, like if I want to run these JavaScript code without the browser, so I need to install Node.js in my system. So what I'll do, I'll just go to the Google and just type Node. And Node.js is also a website. It's a program. With the help of this program, you can run your JavaScript code without the browser. So which is written, Node.js is a JavaScript runtime environment which is built on Chrome V8 engine, and you can download its LTS version. I have already downloaded this LTS version, and let's say I have deleted index.html file and I wanted to run it without browser, because here I'm running this JavaScript file with the help of HTML tags. But now this app.js file without browser. So we have this file. I wanted to run this file. So first we need to install Node.js, and then after installing Node.js, then you can go to the terminal in your VS Code editor, and here we have a terminal. And then you can run the command. Let's say I'm using Node, and then my file name is app.js. So here we have an output. So after Node.js, we can run the JavaScript file without the browser. Means now my JavaScript language is can be considered as a server-side language. So now with the help of Node.js, we can create a server-side logic, or maybe the REST APIs we can create. Okay, so any questions as of now, like the basic fundamentals? Okay, so like if I talk about the JavaScript part, like as a front-end development, like we can run the JavaScript code only in the browser. Like we can create index.html file. Let's say I'll create index.html file, and we have a app.js file, and we can link this JavaScript file. So what I'll do here, I will write index HTML logic, and then we can link this JavaScript code app.js. Okay. This is a standard logic. Like we have a HTML page, we have a JavaScript file, and we can run that particular JavaScript file with the help of browser. And then here, if I'll go to the inspect element, and then we have a console, and then here we have a output. Okay, but if I want to run the JavaScript file without the browser, like right now I'm using the concept of HTML tags, and this HTML tags is running on your browser, and inside browser we have a JavaScript engine which is responsible for running your JavaScript code. But I wanted to run this JavaScript file without the browser, means the directly in the operating system. So I cannot run this JavaScript code directly in my computer. So what I need to go to the website Node.js, and then we need to download nodejs.org, Node.js in your operating system. Then you can open this JavaScript file. What you need to do after installing Node.js, you just need to go to the terminal, and then here we have a terminal, and then you just need to write node and app.js file name. So here we have an output. So we can run the JavaScript code without browser, uh, and this language is right now considered as a backend server-side language, or we can use as a in the backend development. Okay, so now I'm running this JavaScript code without browser, means I can remove this index.html file and I can run these code. So in JavaScript, we can create a variable. Let's say I'm creating a variable a is equal to 4, and I'll create another variable where b is equal to, let's say you can define value is 5. And you can calculate those things like a plus b. So I'm writing console.log a plus b, and I wanted to run this JavaScript code without browser. So we are using Node.js, and with the help of Node.js, you can run the file. So you just need to type node as a command, and then file name. My file name is app.js. Here we have output 9. Okay. So now, like whatever you know in the JavaScript, let's say we can create a function. So I'll create a function. So my function's name is hello, or maybe hello, my function's name. This is my functions in the JavaScript, and then here we can write, let's say console.log, and then hello from CDG. Okay, so I wanted to call these functions. We can call these functions, it's totally up to you. So you can call these functions, and then again you need to run this JavaScript file. So what I'll type, and then here we have our output. Okay, so I hope you is able to understand like what is Node.js and what is JavaScript. So Node.js is basically a runtime environment. With the help of Node.js, you can run your JavaScript code directly in your operating system without the browser. Okay, so I'm running these JavaScript code with the help of Node.js without the browser. Here we have our output. Okay, the next one part is like in the JavaScript, like we can use any concept. Like we can create a functions. Also, in if I talk about the advanced JavaScript, let's say advanced JavaScript, which is name is ECMAScript. So ECMAScript here we can create a functions in this way. Let's say I can create a functions like hello, and then this function is called as arrow functions. So here we have a simple logic like console.log, and here I'm writing hello from GDB Jalandhar. Okay, so both things are same. Like this is the oldest approach for creating a JavaScript function, and this is the newest approach. Like this function is called as arrow functions, and here my function's name. Here I'm not passing any parameter. I'm just like printing the output. Okay, so what I'll do here, I just comment these things. I will comment these things, and then we can comment this one console.log a plus b, and I wanted to run this functions, so I'm running these functions. So here we have our output. Okay. So similarly, you can create another functions. Let's create another functions. My function name is sum, which will take two parameter x comma y, and we need to return the sum of x plus y. So we can write x plus y. Okay. So we have created a functions which its name is sum, which will take two parameter x and y. Whenever we are calling these functions, it will sum of these two numbers. So how we can call this functions? Here we have a functions name, and then we can pass the parameter, let's say 3 comma 4. So I will save, and then we can run the file, and then here we have output 7. 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. Okay. So like you can use any concept, like you can use if else, you can use logical operator, you can use arithmetic operators. It's totally up to you. You can use for loops, anything. So now I'll talk about the new things in the JavaScript. So new things is called as modules. Like we can create a modules in the JavaScript part. So let's create a module. Module is just like we can divide our JavaScript logic into the multiple files. So what I'll do here, I will create a folder. Let's say my folder name is module. Okay, so here we have a folder modules, and then here I'm creating a module. Let's say my module name is uh, arithmetic operations. Here we have a module. Sorry, there is some background noise. Just a minute. Yeah. So here we have I have created a file name is earth.js. Basically, I have created this module where we can apply arithmetic operations. So let's say I'm writing the functions. My functions name is sum, which will take two parameter, I'm passing two parameter x comma y, and then we are getting the result, let's say x plus y, and then we can create another functions, let's say subtractions. So I'll create another functions again, which will pass, where we can pass two parameters, and then we can console.log, and then here x comp minus y. So similarly, you can create a multiplications as a functions where we can pass two parameters and the output is x into y. Okay. Okay, and then similarly we can create a division, let's say here, which will take two parameter x comma y, and here we are passing as a output console.log x divided by y. Okay, so here we have created a separate JavaScript file for arithmetic module, and I wanted to use this JavaScript file inside app.js file. Okay, so here we have a set of functions, and I wanted to use these functions from this particular file. So what I'll do here, I will create a module. So this small file will consider as a module. So how we can, first we need to export this module. So what I need to do here, we need to write module.export. Module.exports is equal to, here you can pass the JavaScript object, and this is like which function I need to export. Like say my function's name is sum, I wanted to export subtract, or I wanted to export my function's name is multiplications, or maybe I wanted to export my function's name is division. So we have created a small module where we can apply the arithmetic operations, and I'm exporting these modules. So with the help of module.export, and then we can parse the JavaScript object. So here we have a JavaScript object, and I'm exporting these modules. Okay. Okay, the next one part is here we have a app.js file. I wanted to use these modules. So first I wanted to import these modules. So how we can import? We need to use required functions. Or here we have a require. Here we have a require, and inside require we can pass the path. Let's say I'm importing these things like dot slash. I'm going to the module folder. Here we have a arithmetic module. So I'm importing those module these entire module, and then we can store that data. So let's say we can store, let's say, earth module. Okay, so I'm importing this like this entire file in this particular variable with the help of required functions. Okay, so what we can do here, I'll just console.log, and then here we are printing earth module. So basically we are getting these functions. Okay, so I'll just call these functions node.js file, app.js file, and here we are getting hello from gdg jalandhar, because in the app.js, uh, save. Yeah. So here we have a output, like we are getting this arithmetic module. Here we have a sum as a functions. Here we have a subtraction as a function. Similarly for the multiplication and division. So if I want to access one of the functions, what I have to do? So here we need to write arithmetic module dot sum, and then here we can pass a parameter. Let's say I want to pass parameter is 4 comma 5. So this will give me the output is 9. So here what I'll run, here we have output. So we have created a module where this module will work as a Java like arithmetic operations, and then we are exporting these module, and then we are using these module, and inside module we are calling that particular functions. So here this is how we can call. So similarly, if you want to perform, let's say, multiplication, so you can use as a functions. Here we can pass 45 into, let's say, 3. So here we have output 135. So this is the concept of JavaScript modules. Like we can create a modules, like you can create a separate file, and then you need to use module.export, and then inside JavaScript object you need to pass those functions that will export, and then you can import those module in the JavaScript file. You just need to use require as a method, and inside require as a method you need to pass that particular file, and then you can store that particular module in that particular variable, and then you can use that variable dot functions name. Okay, so this is a basic concept, like we have created a small modules in the JavaScript. So similarly, if I'm using Node.js, so with the help of Node.js is the same thing, like Node.js is also providing us some set of predefined modules. With the help of those modules you can create a server. So like for example, I wanted to create a server. So for creating a server, we have a module. That module name is HTTP. So what I'll do here, if I want to create a server, so let's say my server name, I wanted to create a server, and that module name is, which is a pre-written in Node.js, the name is HTTP. So we can store that things, let's say HTTP dot required. Okay. So this is a predefined module in your Node.js, and with the help of this module, you can create a server. So let's say I wanted to create a server, and this is a module, and we are not using, let's say, automatic module and on. So we are creating a simple server as of now, like HTTP, and which is a predefined module in your Node.js, and with the help of this module, you can create a server. So what I'll do here, I'll write HTTP dot. So similarly, we are using like module earth module dot sum. Similarly, here we have a functions like http dot create server. With the help of these functions, you can create a server, and inside server you need to pass the functions which will take two parameter. First one is the request, which will coming from the browser, and then we have a response. So we use response, like we will use response as an object where we want to send a response from server to the browser. Okay, so here we are using this HTTP module. Inside HTTP module we have a functions name is create server. With the help of create server, you can create a simple server in your in Node.js, and then inside create server you can create, or you can pass these functions. So here I'm passing a functions which will take two parameter. First one is response. So response is just request. Sorry, request and response. I'm just using request and response. So first is request. So basically, I'm sending a request from browser to the server, and then we have a response which will goes from server to the browser end. Okay. So now, like we have created a simple server. So like if I want to work on arrow functions, so we can remove these things and we can call add arrow. That's it. So this is a part of like arrow functions, like you can use these things. Now, like whenever we call this particular server, we need to share the response to the browser. So we need to share that response. So we have a response as an object, and then we can write head. So this is a by default functions. With the help of these functions, you can define. Let's say I have a data in the server end, and I'm sharing that particular data to the browser. So with some status code, which I have mentioned in the day one class, like we can server is sending a response with some status code. So we are sending the status code name is, let's say, 200, and then we can pass the the JavaScript object. Here we can write the content type. Let's say here we need to write content type, and then we can pass the value. Let's say text HTML, or maybe you can write text HTML. Okay. So I'm sending my, let's say I have a server, and there is a one request goes to the server, and server will send a response with this particular status code, and we have a data whose the content type is HTML. So how we can share the data? So you can share the data with the help of response dot end method. And inside response dot end method, you can define the HTML logic. Let's say I wanted to add HTML logic like H1, and then we can close the H1 tag, and then here we can write hello from server. Okay, so here we have created a simple server, which when we call this particular server, the we got a response with the status code is 200, and then we will get this particular response in HTML tags. Okay, so now like we can create a server with the help of http.create server as a predefined method in your Node.js, and every services we need to run on a port number. So there is a like we need to use listen method for defining a port number. So what I'll do here, I will create a variable so we can store server is equal to this one. So I'm storing this entire server as a functions in a server as a variable, and then we can use server dot listen, and then inside listen we can pass a pair. Let's say I wanted to run this server on this particular port number, and that's it. So with the help of simple things, like we can create a simple server which will send a response as a HTML tags. Okay, so again I will repeat, like in the JavaScript we can create a modules. So I have shared like in 5 minutes before, like we can create JavaScript modules like with the help of module.export, and this is how you can create a JavaScript modules. But in the, if you are using Node.js, so Node.js is having a predefined JavaScript modules. So here we have a predefined JavaScript module is HTTP. So with the help of this module, you can create a server. So I'm just using this module, and just I'm storing that particular data, like the particular modules in the HTML HTTP as a reference, and then inside reference, then we are calling this functions which is name is create server, and which will take which where we need to pass the functions, and which will take request and the response, and we are sending a response with the head status code, and the content type is text HTML, and then we are sending a output data. Okay, so now I wanted to run this. We can run the server. You just need to type node app.js. So here we will get the output. So here we are getting us, we are running a server. So now you can go to the browser. Here we have a browser. You just need to type localhost colon 3000, and then here we have an output. Okay, so here we have created a simple server. Here we have a simple server. We are using HTTP predefined module, and then here we can write HTML logic. So what I'll do, like I'll just go to the traditional approach. Like I have a computer and I wanted to use that computer as a server. So what I do inside that particular computer, I will install Node.js, and in a folder I will create a file. Let's say app.js file, and inside app.js file I will write the logic. Let's say I'm writing this logic, and we have a that particular IP, so we can run the IP. Let's say I'm right now I'm running my local machine, but let's say I have connected my laptop with that particular internet, so I can use that particular IP and the port number, and then you can access that particular server. So now Let's say I'm writing these contain, let's say h1 tag, and if you want to add some paragraphs, so you can also write like hello from Vrijraj or hello from GDG Jalandhar. Okay, so what I do here, I will save and just reload the page, but there is nothing the same output. So what you need to do here, you need to close the server, and then again you need to restart the server. So again, my server is restarted, and then here we have our output like hello from server, and then we have a hello from GDG Jalandhar. Okay, so now what I'll do here, I will create a folder. Let's say my folder name is pages. Okay, inside pages, let's create a file. Let's say we can create an index.html file, and here we can write the logic. Let's say this index.html file. Let's say here we have h1 tag, here we have a heading, then we have a paragraph, lot of some, and then we can also add some button. So you can also add some button. Let's just see more. Okay, so when we open a website, the request goes to the server, and server will check if there is any pages inside the server. Let's say index.html file. Is there any have in that particular folder? So if server is having index.html file, that will read the file and that will share the file to the browser, and then browser having a rendering engine that will render your HTML, CSS, JavaScript code into the UI part. So we will create a those scenario. So first we have a folder which is name is pages. Inside pages we have a file index.html file. So whenever let's say a user is requesting a file, let's say index.html file. So first we need to read the file. So for reading a file, we need to use FS module, the file system module, which is predefined in your Node.js. So you can use FS module. So I'm importing this FS module. So here we have a let, and then we are sending sharing a response as a FS. Okay. So here we have a FS module. With the help of FS module, you can read the file inside the directory. So now I wanted to read the file inside the directory. So here we can write fs dot read file. This is a functions inside read file. You can pass the path. Like I wanted to read the file from which directory. So I'll write pages inside pages folder, and then we have a file name is index.html. So I wanted to read the content from this particular file. So if the content is successfully if we got a file, and then we can pass, we can call the functions. Here we have an error and then data. So this is a like functions, like I'm reading this file. If I find that particular file, then we have a data of that particular file. And if there is any if we are not getting any file inside that particular directory, then we are getting error. So like let's say I'm getting a data. Yeah. So I want to use, like here we can write response dot end, and then here we can write data, because I wanted to read the data. I wanted to read this entire code from fs.file module, and then we are getting this data, and then we can print those data with the help of response.data as an object. Okay, so I will restart the server. So I'll restart the server, and then here when I reload the page, here we have our output, which is coming from index.html page. So similarly, you can create multiple pages. It's totally up to you. Let's say I'm creating a page. File name is contact.html. Contact. Okay, so this is a contact page. Here we can write the HTML basic logic. Here we have HTML basic logic. Here we can write H1. This one is contact page. And then here we have some paragraph. Here we can use lariflipsum. And then you can write a button. Let's say I'm creating a button. This one is for see more info. Okay, so if, for example, if request goes to the server, like I need a data of contact.html page. So here we have it right contact.html, and this logic will run like we have a file system module which will read the file from this particular contact.html file if we have a file, and then we will get the data, and then we can print the data with the help of response.end. If we do not find a file, so then we have a error. So you can print out error like file not found, 404 error kind of things. So now I will restart the server and then reload the page. Here we have a contact file. Okay. So this is how we can create a simple server with the help of HTTP module, and then we have a create server as a functions. And inside Node.js, you can use anything like there are predefined n number of modules that you can use. Okay, so what I'll do here, you can just go to the npm, which is a website node package manager. Here we have a tons of modules which is pre-written. You can use those modules, like if you wanted to, let's say if you wanted to read the content in PDF file or maybe DOC file, or if you wanted to convert your image into the PNG, JPG, or if you want to convert your website into the Excel sheet or maybe PDF file, you can use n number of modules. You just need to go to the website npm.js, and then you can write, let's say, doc to PDF, doc to PDF. Just search doc to PDF, and then you're here. You will get a lot of modules. Here, let's say I'm just going this particular modules. Let's say custom software to PDF, and then this is the documentations. Like first we need to import that particular modules, and then we need to use FS module, and then we have a file. Which file I wanted to read? So here we have a doc file, and then you need to call these functions like to PDF dot word buffer, and you can use anything. So this is a simple tutorial, simple ideas like with the help of Node.js, you can create a server, you can run your JavaScript code without the browser directly in your operating system. So tomorrow I'll talk about the Express.js part, like where we will create a simple REST APIs with the help of Express.js. Like we will use those methods like get request, post request, put request, and delete request. So now I'm open for the questions. Like if you have any questions, you can ask your questions. Okay, so import basically if you are using ECMAScript syntax, so then you have to use import as a keyword. Okay, but right now in the like if you are working on backend technologies, so mostly you have to work on required as a predefined functions. But you can use import. It's totally up to you. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Ambiguous.
Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Go on.
Thanks
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I
much
can
for the
hear you.
fine presentation. I have a question. I noticed you used
Yeah.
let throughout. Does const also work the same way?
Sorry. Sorry. Your voice is breaking a little bit.
Sorry, I'm asking. I noticed throughout the presentation you used let, the keyword let in JavaScript, and I wanted to know if the keyword const, const, also works the same way.
Uh, I'm I'm not getting your questions. Like maybe he's asking about let and const. Okay, so in the JavaScript we can use like where keyword, let keyword, as well as const keyword for creating a variables. So if you are using where as a keyword, with the help of where keyword, you can create a global variable. And like let and const is a part of ECMAScript. Like with the help of these let and const variable, you can the scope of that particular variable will be block specific. Like if you have a some block, let's say for or maybe if else, so the existence of that particular variable will be itself in that particular block. And with the help of const as a like keyword, with the, you can create a constant. And once you assign the value, you cannot update the value of that particular constant variable. Okay, Shalini, you need to download Node.js for running your JavaScript code, because Node.js is a runtime environment for running your JavaScript code without browser. So you don't need to need to install Node.js in your system. XAMPP basically be used for running your PHP file or maybe Perl file, anything. Yeah, yeah, Musha.
Yes, I can you post there was a website you went to. I completely missed it. a website you went to find the module to convert document? What was the website?
Yeah, sure, I'll share.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, npm npmjs.com. Here we have a tons of modules. You just need to use those modules. Like first we need to import that particular modules, and then you can go to the documentations like how we can read those modules, and then you can use it. And you explain the callback functions in FS module code. Yeah. Okay, so here we have a FS module. Inside FS module, there is a function's name is read file. Okay, so we use read file basically for reading a data inside a directory in a file. Okay, so here we in the first as a parameter here we have passed the the path. Let's say my path name is pages slash contact.html, and the second parameter is work as a callback functions. Here, let's say if if I get a data from that particular file, so here we have a functions, and then we are getting the data as a data variable. And if we are not getting any data, or if we are not find any file inside that particular directory, and then we get that particular response as an error. So if we are getting a data, then we can print that particular data. So I can give you the example. Let's say I have a file pdf, let's say pdf to pdf read, pdf read. Okay, so let's say I have a file PDF reader. So like I wanted to create a logic. Let's say I have a file. I wanted to read the content with the help of JavaScript in PDF. So this is a documentations. Here we have a documentations. What I do, I'll just go to the documentations. So first we need to install that particular module. So here we have a PDF reader as a module. So what I'll do here, we have a command npm I PDF reader. So what I'll do here, I'll just copy this command and I'll go to the terminal and I will install those modules. So here I will install PDF reader as a module. Okay. Okay, so PDF reader module has been installed because this is an external module. So that's why I need to install this module. So now I'll go to the documentation. Here we have a documentations, and this is an example. Let's say I have a PDF file, and then we have a logic. So what I'll do here, you can also use this one, or you can also use this one. So it's totally up to you. I'm using this concept like we have a FS module, and then you can use these things. So first, we need to import PDF reader. So, okay. So here, I'll just copy this code and I will paste it here. I'm not creating a server. I'm just writing. I'll give you the example. Like here, we have a logic. Okay. So we have a FS module. Inside FS module, there is a functions read file, and with the help of read file, we can read the data. So let's say I have a PDF file. Uh, Okay, so let's say I have this PDF file. I will just paste that particular PDF file inside this directory. So my directory name is like data.pdf, and I wanted to read this file. So here we'll write data.pdf, and then we have a PDF buffer. This is for I'm following the documentations. So here first we need to import that particular module. So here we write required as a method, and then we can pass PDF reader. So here we have a PDF reader, and then you can store, let's say, PR for PDF reader, and maybe you can use okay, let me check, like I can call this functions directly if it is working, or maybe we need to follow the documentation first. So it's showing the error new PDF, like it's not finding. So we can use PDF dot maybe here. I'll just follow the documentations. So here contain a file, new PDF reader. Yes. Okay, so this is a method. Sorry, reading from the online. I'm not reading file from the online. Different. New PDF reader. Console.log. Maybe you can explore that module, like inside what type of functions we have, and then we can debug those things. Like inside PR, we have a PDF reader, which is a functions. So we can use a PDF reader buffer accumulator console. Yeah, maybe you can use another module. Maybe this documentation is very tough, so you can search a lot of modules. But this is how first we need to install. Like you need to go to the documentations, and then let's say I wanted to use this module, so you need to explore the documentations. Like I'm not exploring the documentations, but you this is how you can follow. Okay, so any other doubt? So that's all from my end. Thank you so much for being an amazing